Based on my personal observation, from like not just living in England, but like just seeing things and just reading different statistics and stuff, what I notice, honestly, is that, children that were raised by single mothers versus children that were raised by single fathers, what I notice fundamentally is that the children raised by single fathers, on average, tend to do better than children raised by single mothers. This is just an observation, and you could take it with a grain of salt or with a pinch of salt, but these are facts, to be honest. And if you're a woman, let's say you're a woman out there, you're a single mother, you're working hard to take care of your children, to look after them and stuff like that. You're a hard worker, so I can never say anything about you. Do you get what I mean? I can't. But I'm looking at things not from a micro level, but I'm looking at things on a macro level. So if you pick two people, let's say two boys, one was raised by a single mother and the other one was raised by a single father, statistically, the kid raised by a single father on average tends to do better than the kid raised by a single mother. Now, there's a lot of variables, right? So there's a lot of factors, that could contribute to that, not just because, they were raised by single parents. Poverty could be one of the reasons. If you had someone raised by a middle class family and someone was raised by someone who's poor, their outcomes are never going to be the same. Let's assume both children or both boys were raised by parents from a similar socio-economic class. The boy that was raised by their father, on average, tends to do better than the boy that was raised by their mother. Why? Do you get what I mean? Why? Why is that? Why does that happen? Do you get what I mean? Because there's a perception, especially in the West, men aren't as nurturing as women, right? So people automatically, by default, assume that women are better parents than men. That's the automatic default assumption. But I think it's important for all of us, to really challenge that narrative, to be honest. The idea that women are more empathetic than men. I think empathy is subjective. I don't think it's a collective thing. So I don't believe that women are more empathetic than men. There's no biological, there's no social evidence to prove that that's the case. And I think it's important to look at things on a macro level if we want to understand a particular topic. My personal opinion to why children raised by single fathers tend to do better than children raised by single mothers is that I think men generally don't bring in a lot of emotional baggage to any situation, whereas women tend to bring in a lot of emotional baggage, not only in their relationships, but even when it comes to raising their children. Now, if you're raising a boy, you might need to raise a boy differently to a girl. But if you bring in a lot of emotions whilst you're dealing with a boy, the outcomes are that it's never going to be positive on average. Whereas, on the other hand, if a child was raised by a single father, even a daughter or a son, they don't have to deal with too much emotion. Like, there's nothing like, screaming, emotional stuff. Do you get what I mean? They're just raised to be just decent people. I think that's the difference to why there's a difference in outcome. For example, when it comes to children raised by single mothers and children raised by single fathers, obviously, if you factor in poverty and stuff, and let's assume both parents are from a similar socio-economic class, the child raised by a single father will always do better on average than a child raised by a single mother. Maybe my perspective on it might be limited, but that's just an observation that I had made personally, to be honest. But the question is why that is the case. I think I want to know your thoughts on the topic itself, to be honest, because these are very sensitive topics, right? Do you get what I mean? But I think we definitely need to challenge the idea that women are more empathetic than men. Do you get what? It's not, I don't believe it's true. I think empathy can only be measured subjectively, not collectively, if that makes sense. It can never be measured collectively. So on a subjective level, I think anyone can be empathetic. It's just relatability. That's what it is. If you can relate to someone's particular circumstances, then you show empathy because you can relate to it, for example. But based on our social perceptions, for a long time, this perception is that women are more empathetic than men. But I just feel like we need to challenge that notion. It's not true. It's not grounded in any statistical fact or research. It's just somebody woke up one day and said women are more empathetic than men. Women carry children in the womb for like 9 months. Do you get what I mean? So they've got more empathy than men. No, they don't have more empathy than men at all. I think anyone can have empathy. It's subjective, ladies and gentlemen. But what are your thoughts? Maybe leave your thoughts down in the comment sections. To be honest, on why single children raised by single fathers on average statistically tend to do better than children raised by single mothers. Now, it's an observation that I've made and I've said statistically, but I actually haven't seen the complete research. If I'm being honest, I've read a bit, but I haven't read the whole thing in itself. That's the thing. But based on an observation that I've made, just interacting with people and seeing people who were raised by single mothers and single fathers, especially boys, the boy that was on average raised by a single father is doing better. A single mother, child raised by a single mother, has a higher chance of going to prison. Do you get what I mean? Now, there's many factors that could contribute towards that, but if you put all variables aside, the child from a single mother household is more likely to go to prison than a child from a single father household. That's also a statistical fact, especially in the UK. It does mostly also affect minority communities. It affects any community in general, but class also plays a significant role. But on average, it affects black communities too more. But that's also because black people on average in the UK are more likely to live in poverty than any groups of people, largely because of a long history of structural and systemic discrimination of black people. So that contributes towards the numbers to why black children from single parent households, especially raised by a single mother, tend to go to prison at a disproportionately higher rate than white people from single parent households in Britain. So we need to acknowledge those different variables as well, ladies and gentlemen. But that's my take on it, to be honest. What's your take? And I would definitely need someone to, give me a different perspective. I absolutely love that, to be honest. Someone's got a different perspective. I would absolutely love that. Do you get what I mean? But based on an observation that I've actually made just recently, ladies and gentlemen, these are my findings. Why? Maybe there's something else going on. Do you get what I mean? Maybe there's a structural issue going on that no one is addressing. Let me know, and make sure to smash the like button down below as well. Make sure to subscribe as well, to be honest, because I need more subscribers. Just subscribe, because consistency is something that we're going to be having on this channel, to be honest. No excuses, just more consistency. But make sure when you're subscribing as well, remember to turn on the bell. The bell, just turn it on. And I would really appreciate that, to be honest, especially to the loyal viewers and subscribers who've been stuck with me from like day one. I really appreciate your presence, and I'll definitely remember you when I become incredibly successful. Honestly, I'd remember you. I would say, I know him. This person has been a subscriber to my YouTube channel for a long time. Do you want some money? I give them £1 million, get them a car and stuff. It's like, there you go. You want a car? I can give it to you. So smash the like button, comment and subscribe. Peace.